Mickey Mania was developed by Traveler's Tale and published by Sony ImageSoft. It was released for Sega Genesis in 1994. That same year, it was also released for the Sega CD. So, what's the difference? At first glance, these games look identical, and graphically, there isn't much difference. If you go deeper, there are things added to the Sega CD game. The first difference you might notice right away is Mickey. He's a lot more vocal in the Sega CD game.
You look awfully familiar.
Whether he's commentating on the current situation, or simply stating the name of the level.
The Mad Doctor.
Enemies are more vocal too. Overall, there's more sound effects on Sega CD.
Hiya, Mr. Goat.
Another difference is the soundtrack. It shouldn't be any surprise that the Sega CD soundtrack is of a much higher quality than the Genesis one. And for some reason, on Sega CD, the songs are moved around a bit. And some songs have been completely replaced on Sega CD. Both games have practically identical gameplay, but the Sega CD version added a few things. There's a new fight against Pete at the end of the game. This fight is unique in that you call on the previous versions of Mickey you encountered to help you win. It's a nice addition and not at all in the Genesis game. And these parachute spiders aren't in the Genesis game either. There's another addition as well. When you beat the Mad Doctor on Sega CD, you see that he turns into a little baby. On Genesis, you don't. Not sure why that couldn't be included in the Genesis game, but oh well. Not all the differences are good, however. One negative feature of the Sega CD game is the loading screens. This happens between every level, every stage, so get used to seeing Mickey looking at the script. One major problem with the Super Nintendo game was the inclusion of these load screens, and the Genesis game has no load screens. Ever. Luckily, there's no load screens on Sega CD when you die, unlike the Super Nintendo game. So, is it worth it? It's close, but I'd say yes. While there are very few improvements and the loading screens are a negative, I still enjoyed this version of the game. Nothing that made the Genesis game fun was taken away, which is crucial. It's not missing the things like the Super Nintendo game is. Instead, it adds things. You have better quality music, and Mickey's increased dialogue on Sega CD is a charming addition.
Gee, I wonder who's in here. Whoa, that's one big spider.
And the new boss fight is incredibly fun too. Seeing those past Mickeys one more time, aiding you in battle, really wraps up the game nicely. It's a shame it wasn't included in the Genesis game.
Ow!
And the price of the game isn't too bad either, as long as you stick with a used copy. So if you're looking to play a version of Mickey Mania on Sega, definitely give the Sega CD game a go.
Over the wall!